What's up YouTube, and a very warm welcome back to my space. In this channel it's all about endless storytelling as we encounter limitless possibilities. Now today I want to tell you a story about a madam by the name Millicent. It's an interesting story, kind of a sad story, but stick with me to the end. Now Millicent was a very successful lady. She was a very successful businesswoman here in Nairobi, and she had made some really good money during her 15 years of serious hustling. But unfortunately for Madam Millicent, she was very lonely at the age of 50 years. And one day, our good madam decided, you know what? It's time to get a man in my life. It's time to, enjoy the warmth that comes with being in a relationship. Again, stick with me to the end so that we are able to know whether that decision that Madam Millicent made was a good one, or it was actually the beginning of her tragic end. I've told you that she had been very successful at the time that she was turning 50. Everything was going on for very well for her. She had interests in real estate. She had interests in insurance and banking, and of course she was also a very successful farmer. So to her, money was not a primary source of happiness because she had made enough of that. The only thing that was missing was a family, a man, and the entire prospect of having kids. And that is when one day she woke up and decided to get herself a man. But really, Madam Millicent, this wealthy friend of ours, was not born in wealth. She was not coming from a rich family. So allow me to give you perspective. Millicent was actually born in the mid-70s in a very poor family in Isiolo town. Millicent's dad was actually a Somali guy who was really a brick. He used to make construction bricks. And Millicent's mom was a very low-key housewife whose only job on earth was to give birth. Sorry to say that. It was a very low-profile family. The dad, if he was not making his bricks, he was doing his drugs. He loved to do a lot of miraa and alcohol. He was a typical traditional husband who, according to him, only boys were supposed to smell the gates of a school. Women were basically to grow up doing house chores and giving birth, nothing else. So it was a very difficult childhood for our very good lady Millicent. And just like other kids in the neighborhood, she really wanted to go to school, get herself an education, but her dad was not the kind to find a value in educating a lady or educating the female gender. So it was very difficult for her and her mother and her siblings who were ladies. Anyway, fast forward. One day someone visited their home. I think she was actually 18, 19, she had fairly crossed the, adulthood lane that is always 18 years old. And somebody came to her dad. Her dad was called Ahmed. So someone came to Ahmed's home and told Ahmed, hey, you know what? I want to seek your daughter's hand in marriage. She's now, young but mature. She's crossed 18. And I'm offering you 25 very healthy cows. So I give you these 25 cows. You give me your young daughter, Millicent, to, become one of my wives. At this point, my good people, I want you to know that, or I want you to remember that Millicent's dad was a very poor man. There was no money coming from the bricks, the construction bricks that he was making. So For a man whose entire adult life was navigating between drugs and bricks, the only source of wealth that he had was, around 3 sick goats, nothing beyond that, and a very funny structure in the name of a home. So when someone comes to offer you 25 big fertile cows in exchange of your daughter, who is now an adult, who is helping nothing to the family, your guess is as good as mine. Our Millicent's dad agreed to that offer very fast. Now, arrangements were made, and this, by the way, I forgot a very crucial aspect of this gentleman who was seeking Millicent's hand in marriage. This guy was, I think he was 45, if not 55 years of age. Actually, his age had really advanced. So, to cut the long story short, these arrangements were done. He was given the exact date and the exact month to, bring over the bride price of 25 cows. And then, there would be a very brief communal ceremony according to the traditions and customs of people in Isiolo. And then our innocent young Millicent would be married off just like that. It was a very painful situation. It was a situation that really deserved a lot of sympathy. But then the decision had been made, the die had been cast. Millicent had to go to a new home where probably, God knows, she was gonna be like, the 6th or the 7th wife. But shit happens. So the day came, the brief marriage ceremony was, done, and Millicent was able to, go with this old man to his new place. Now, fast forward to Millicent's new home. A very young girl married off to a man who is just like her dad, a man who believes that, a woman's life is all about conducting house chores, a little bit of farming maybe, and bearing children. Nothing beyond that. The kind of men who believe that women didn't have a voice, women didn't have a life to pursue, and their lives were central to the dictates of, the home where she was married to. So, just like her mom, Millicent was a very hard worker. Millicent loved to, get things done, in a very fast way, in a very impressive way. And though she was sad, though she was, humiliated and frustrated, she got adapted to her new home as a young wife. And I think after 7 months, she was pregnant with her first child with this old man. It was a very difficult time for her in a home where, things are taken for granted, It was very difficult for our then little girl, Millicent. Anyway, she carried her pregnancy to term, and, she was able to give birth. Then one day, something happened. Millicent woke up one bright morning and decided that, you know what? I'm leaving this marriage. I'm leaving this newborn baby with the dad. I'm escaping to a place where nobody will ever hear from me again. Nobody will ever find me again. And that place was here in the country's capital of Nairobi city. Millicent decided that, I'm going to look for an alternative life. I'm going to pursue my dreams and ambitions in life. And it was very painful making the decision to leave her child. Was just a few months old, and deciding to go away. But at that moment when she made that decision, according to her, there was no any other option. She kind of felt that she deserved better than being a woman whose primary role in life is to give birth. And one morning she looked at her 5-month-old baby for the last time, with painful tears in her eyes, and she left. She left a brief letter for the old husband, and she went to Nairobi. And that's how our good Millicent, the now super wealthy 50-year-old lady I was talking about when the story was starting, found herself in Nairobi. And let me tell you, my good people, when she landed into this city, Nairobi can be such a madhouse for newcomers. She tried her hands in anything. At one point, she was, selling SIM cards along Amoy Avenue. The second time, she was selling sweets and pencils along Thika Superhighway. The next moment, she wanted to be a house help and everything. Anything that would make her busy and active, anything that would earn her a little income. Our very hardworking Millicent, I beg your pardon, was willing to do. Now, again, fast forward, she really hustled, and sometimes a life came through for her, sometimes life did not come through for her. But the grind is the grind. You have to push. So I think actually I know that her breakthrough came along when she decided to sell real estate. She went and signed up as a sales person in one of these, high enterprise real estate firms in Westlands. And being a hardworking lady who was very convincing, who loved to engage people, she had very good customer care skills. People believed in what she was selling, and slowly and surely she was able to get one client who successfully bought a home from that real estate firm where she used to work for. This client, referred the next client, and she was able to build a very impressive real estate portfolio as a sales representative. Millicent began to make good money. And having in mind where she was coming from, the hardships that she had gone through, she knew better not to waste that money that was hard-earned. She began investing in other things, opening a butchery there, opening an M-Pesa shop there, this and that, so that liquidity of her money could be something that is assured months and months on end. With this kind of hard work, patience, perseverance, and focus, it was, I think, after close to 9 years of being a sales representative that, she had made good money. She had a good savings in the bank. She was credit worthy. She decided to open her own real estate firm. And just like they say, the rest is history. She had a very nice real estate firm that did very well, great profits at the end of every year. She got into insurance, opened her own insurance brokerage firm. She got into banking as well, microfinance. When she turned, I think 47, close to 26 years, when she first ran away from home, she woke up one morning and said, you know what, I've achieved so much, but there's something that is lacking. The warmth of a relationship, the warmth of marriage, the warmth of having a man to my name. She wanted to now explore things that money could not buy, things like family, things like relationships and all that. And getting a husband in this town for a woman who is in her late 40s, just approaching her early 50s, can be quite cumbersome, because you're gonna be attracting these little boys who want to, mess around with your money and all that. And that's what befell. Actually, she was able to match a few people on Tinder. They were not serious with her. They were not willing to commit to a woman with a fairly advanced age. But one young man, a law intern, was quite serious with Madam Millicent. They went on numerous dates. They went on, given that, Millicent was money. They were able to, travel around the region. And with her adult instinct, she felt that this man was really serious. And, she was willing to, take things to the next level with him. Though this guy was, I think 21 years younger. The guy was around 25 years of age. So I think after 7 months of dating, Madam Millicent got her first child with this young boyfriend of hers who was almost half her age. She wasn't bothered by age, actually. She knew she deserved happiness. She knew she deserved the presence of a man, and everything was okay. They moved in together. They began raising their little bundle of joy. And after some time, Madam Millicent was, expectant again of their second child. And it was now done and dusted. They were truly, truly headed to marriage. They were truly headed to matrimony. So one day this gentleman says, hey, honey, I would wish you to meet my dad, because then, he's sick. We're not very sure if he has, good time left on earth. I want you to go with you and introduce you to him, so that, akuwe akijua, I have somebody and we're expecting our second baby. Basic introduction, basic courtesy. And because Madam Millicent was very serious with this young man, she said, yes, why not? I mean, sounds like a plan. So they set a date. The guys, that morning, they took their firstborn child, and they began driving home. The guy's home was somewhere where the parents was somewhere in Machakos. So they decided they'd leave very early in the morning from Nairobi, go spend a few hours with the dude's parents, then, come back in the evening. And because Madam Millicent had actually been working the entire of the previous night on her companies and bank accounts, she was very sleepy during the drive towards her parents-in-law's place. So she was also kind of stressed whether she would be accepted, given that she was, twice the age of this young man. But that was a non-issue. The boy had, the young man had accepted to, be with Madam Millicent. So they drove, and I think after 1.5 hours, the guy was driving, and Madam Millicent was just at the passenger seat sleeping. They got into the village, Kondandindani, and once they got into the home, the gentleman was driving into the compound. He woke up Madam Millicent. Hey, honey, we finally arrived. Amka, straighten up, and be bubbly. So when she was waking up, they could see that the old man, the young man's dad, was actually getting out of the house to come and meet them towards the car. And at this point, Madam Millicent immediately recognized that old man who was approaching the vehicle, and he turned sharply to the young fiancé, and asked, like, what's the name of your dad again? And the guy said, it's at that moment, my good people, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that Madam Millicent recognized that old man as the same man who 25 years ago took cows to her dad and married her when she was very young and naive. And it is at that moment that Madam Millicent realized that actually this young man she has been with and has 2 kids with, one was still on the way, was actually her first son that she abandoned with this old man more than 25 years ago. And finally, it's at that point that Madam Millicent learned that her child was actually her grandchild, and that this babe of hers was actually her firstborn baby. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in our next video. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.